From 4 News Now, this is Good Morning Northwest.
Dangerous winds are whipping through our area right now, toppling trees into homes and causing thousands and thousands of power outages.
Good morning, Northwest. I'm Derek Dice.
And I'm Robin Nance. Thanks for sticking around with us on this January 13th. High winds closing schools around the region, including Spokane Public Schools.
Yeah, we have team coverage from around the city this morning. Destiny Richards in the 1600 block of East 63rd on the South Hill, where a tree fell into a home and temporarily trapped a woman inside.
Eleni Dow is at 42nd and Helena, where a tree has fallen on a home also damaged in the 2015 windstorm.
And Mayor Kawash is live at 27th and Post, where a woman died when a tree fell onto her car.
Yeah, first, though, we want to go to Mark Peterson here with your first alert weather forecast. You said a little bit of good news.
Yeah, we're starting to see things get a little bit of improvement out there, but our storm impact still is high for wind and travel because of those downed trees and because the winds are still in excess of 40 miles an hour. And we have winds to 50 miles an hour into Post Falls. So you really want to judge whether you need to be outdoors or not. Hanging out through the middle of the day would really be the best. That high wind warning until 4, that's going to be throughout our area all the way to Lewiston, all the way into the Palouse, where we do see improving wind conditions. But all of the state of Montana has a high wind warning with winds expected to get into the 90-mile-an-hour zone from this system that's passing over us right now. And again, our peak at 6:15 was 71 miles an hour. We're going to see improving conditions. All right, right now, we've already seen the winds diminish out of the 40-mile-an-hour range to 36 in Spokane, 38 up into Deer Park, 31 into Pullman. We have, again, winds to 50 miles an hour into Post Falls as this thing continues to track out of here. Now, we look at the forecast for the winds alone, and again, we're looking for these winds to stay steady for a while, and then this afternoon, they're going to decrease quickly and efficiently. Outside in your forecast, we're going to have temperatures that are going to be hovering around 50, tens of thousands without power, much like when we had the November 17th windstorm in 2015. It was cold and wet. Now we're having dry, sunny conditions. That's the upside there. But the winds continuing through the lunch hour, 50. Dinner time, again, those winds should be less than 35 miles an hour, and we should maintain that 50-degree temperature. We'll have more on some of the comparisons and what we're seeing now in weather coming up in a little bit.
You know, that 2015 windstorm, I mean, so many people still remember that day so vividly. I can remember driving to North Spokane, and it was dark everywhere because all the power was out and all the lights were out. Now, the damage is widespread this morning. We are getting reports of trees down, blocking roads around the city.
Yeah, and it seems like every minute we hear another report of a road closed or tree down. Our team is hard at work to bring you images of the destruction. Take a look. This is a downed tree at Super 1 at 29th Avenue. Here is another tree down at Manitou Boulevard and 27th. Here is a large pine tree down in the 1500 block of South 16th, right off of Grand. And we are working on a comprehensive list of road closures. It is live now on KXLY.com.
Some more pictures for you now. Here's a tree into a car. This was taken on the 200 block of East 16th Avenue, and this is at 27th and Howard, where a tree fell on a car. Fortunately, nobody was hurt in this situation, but that was not the case at 27th and Post this morning, where a woman has died.
4 News Now's Mayor Kawash is live at that scene. Mayor.
Robin, Derek, a devastating scene here this morning. Here we are, 27th and Post on the South Hill. All Spokane Fire can tell me is that one woman has died in that car accident. The tree appears to have fallen completely over her car in the middle of that intersection. And again, we are near the South Hill, near Comstock Park. Several downed trees all over the place, several road closures. And as far as that accident, Spokane Fire just tells me it is an adult. Major Crimes with Spokane Police is now taking over that investigation. I was just talking to some neighbors here, and they told me it happened around 6:30 this morning, where they heard essentially a loud explosion, a loud bang to them. They came out here and they saw that car there, so it's been there for about more than 2.5 hours now. Spokane Fire tells me that they will be coming back to extricate the woman from that car as soon as Major Crimes takes over that investigation. We're still waiting to hear how specifically happened, but again, as you can just see there, the tree appears to have completely fallen on her car in the middle of the intersection. That's all we know right now. We're going to keep following these live updates for you and let you know as soon as anything happens. Robin, Derek.
All right, so a terrible situation there, and then a near miss that we've been telling you about much of the morning. We want to go live now to Destiny Richards.
Yeah, she has been live for this story throughout the morning, and it's just mind-blowing and how lucky these people were, Destiny.
That's right. A lot of people waking up to wind damage this morning, but this family was literally woken up by it in the middle of their bedroom. This is the damage we're seeing right now. This tree broke off just before 6 a.m. The top of it broke off and went straight into the bedroom. The firefighters on scene described it as spear-like. It was a spear directly into the bedroom, and the tree landed between a husband and wife who were sleeping. It pinned the wife down, and the husband had to call 911. But thankfully, firefighters got back onto the scene here, and they were able to rescue the woman, and she is doing okay. A little bit later, the husband and two boys came back here to pick up some belongings, and luckily he said that his wife just has an injury to the shoulder, but she is expected to be okay.
Just insane. I mean, just so lucky.
All right, let's get to Mark now with another look at that forecast.
All right, good morning. Again, we're starting with this just to let you know that travel is being impacted by downed trees and the high winds. But the winds, again, high, and that's going to continue. Let's take a look at some of the latest numbers. We're going to go to the National Weather Service. These are the latest observations, and you take a look at that. And I understand it might be a little hard to read, but we have, again, winds in excess of 50 miles an hour still into the West Plains. We're down to 38, and down into Post Falls, they've seen those winds die down to about 42. So that's what we're currently tracking with the National Weather Service. Let's see what's happening when we look at the region. And again, this system came in, we had the rain, then the wind. We hold on to the wind now. It is sunny and it is going to be dry, but we're going to see this storm continue to move out. It is going to be a snowstorm for areas of Montana into the Dakotas. For us, the winds die down. The winds fire up into North Idaho, but really downslope out of the out of the Rockies into the central part of Montana. Right now, 36-mile-an-hour winds in Spokane, 38 into Deer Park. Moses Lake at 21 miles an hour. So you can see we're starting to get that break as this system continues to move through. Now, we did have, again, the brown zone here is really denoting those winds in excess of 50 miles an hour. While it encompassed Spokane all the way to Pullman a couple hours ago, now we're seeing that decrease with temperatures in the 30s. That's the good news. We're starting to see these winds decrease. The 48-hour forecast continues to be calming this afternoon. We're going to have sunshine today and tomorrow, and then we're going to see a continuation of some cloud cover pushing through, but that's going to be about it. This system is going to be done. That's going to happen about 2 o'clock this afternoon. And again, by Friday, we'll have a chance of rain showers, but not the wind. This wind storm is going to blow itself out, and that's going to happen later on this afternoon.
All right, Mark, we will look forward to things settling down a little bit later. All right, this now is Riverfront Park, where one of those iconic butterfly structures literally took flight this morning, toppling to the ground. This is, of course, on the north side of the river, right there near the flour mill and where they're building the new sportsplex. You can see it toppled over. Hopefully that's something that they will be able to repair and get back up here in no time. But
for sure.
Sad to see it.
It really is. Hey, I want to give you a quick check of outages because a lot of people are without power right now. Vista reporting about 68,000 customers without power. Looks like Inland Power and Light has about 16,000, a little more than 16,000 out, and Kootenai Electric reporting about 5,000 customers without power. And I'm checking also for flights that are leaving Spokane.
Sure.
And it looks like there are a couple delayed, but they're not canceling flights. So.
Obviously, all of those utility companies have their hands full this morning. We know it's not a great situation, but hang on, and hopefully they will get to your neighborhood as soon as they can.
For sure. Hey, let's take a look now at another scene. This at the 1600 block of South Grand. We spoke to Clint Thatcher this morning, who says his house was hit by a big old tree.
Yeah, we have about an 85-foot giant spruce that fell on the back of the house this morning about 6:30.
Did you hear it?
Oh yeah, it's like a freight train hit the house. I mean, everything inside was knocked off the walls.
Oh boy. And take a look now at this video from the 400 block of South Tacoma. A huge tree taking down lines with it. Another one of those reasons that so many people are without power. It's just another scene.
Here's another picture for you now. This one is going to be from 28th and Lincoln, I believe, if we have that and can advance to it. But so many of these images we're showing you coming from the South Hill, which is partly just because a lot of our people live in that area and they snap these pictures and videos as they were making their way in, but partly because it's where a lot of the damage was, at least in the Spokane area, immediate Spokane area this morning. Of course, you know, hearing stuff about Hayden and Post Falls and other places as well. Yeah,
a lot of big old trees up there on the South Hill too.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, it's just really something to see. And, you know, it's sad that we're seeing, I feel like, wasn't it just last year that we were out driving around also looking for windstorm damage? It seems to be happening, you know, a little more frequently than we would like.
For sure. All right, we are going to take a quick break here. You can see the flag still whipping in the wind here this morning. We're back with more windstorm coverage coming up right after this. This is 4 News Now.
Good morning, and thank you so much. This is a special edition of 4 News Now, obviously talking about our windstorm. And if you do need to head out, we should tell you that we are simulcasting on 920 News Now, so you can flip us over on your radio and still be up to date with the latest happenings.
And if your phone or your laptop has a decent charge, you can check us out on KXLY.com as well. Those high winds closing schools around the region, including Spokane schools. And we have team coverage from around the city this morning.
Yeah, Destiny Richards is in the 1600 block of East 63rd on the South Hill, where a tree fell into a home, trapping a woman.
Yeah, Eleni Dow is at 42nd and Helena, where a tree has fallen on a home, also damaged in the 2015 windstorm.
And Mayor Kawash live at 27th and Post, where a woman has died when a car fell on her tree.
All right, first, though, we want to go to Mark Peterson with a look at that first alert forecast. And Mark, as you said, despite the high winds this morning, things are going to settle down later.
And we're starting to see some of that settling coming in from the west right now. And that's what we're going to be hopefully seeing as we progress through the morning hours, decreasing winds. We're seeing really the big heavy cell continue to move eastward out of our area, but we still have winds in excess of 35, 40 miles an hour. 4 things you need to know as we head out. We're still under that high wind warning until 4 o'clock this afternoon. We've got down trees and outages. We're going to have more on that in this special edition. Winds will decrease this afternoon. Computer model saying, hey, 1, 2 o'clock, it's going to be a huge difference, but we should see much better conditions by 11 or 12. And today's going to be a sunny day. There's no doubt about it, and that's going to help a little bit. Now, that high wind warning goes from Spokane all the way to Lewiston, and we're seeing it really push through along I-90 eastbound as you get out of our area along Idaho. 36-mile-an-hour winds. We're seeing them anywhere from 33 to 42-mile-an-hour winds still, so it's still very active. But the winds in the 50-mile-an-hour zone could very well be around Lookout Pass as you're heading over into Montana, where they have a high wind warning throughout the entire state. And Idaho is a part of that. 38-mile-an-hour winds in Deer Park. We've had down trees not only north, but in all directions around Spokane. Hearing reports of people driving by the South Hill, seeing quite a few trees there in Manitou that are down. Sandpoint, 22-mile-an-hour winds there. Into Kalispell, 21. Look for those to build, especially into Montana. So we look at that forecast, and right now it's fairly active. There's no doubt. But as we get into the noon hour, we really start to see it become less. And by 1, 2 o'clock, again, we should have winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, which would be a huge difference compared to what we have this morning. Right now, we're at 38. Coming into work this morning when the winds really started to fire up, it was 51 degrees. 38, we're going to see those temperatures continue to build back up to possibly around 50 degrees. 37 into Loon Lake, Liberty Lake at 45, 41 into the valley. Now, we look at what we have for the expected highs today, again, about 50 degrees. Now, we've seen those winds in excess of 50. Again, it's about 6:15 this morning. Spokane International Airport reporting a peak gust of 71. That matches the peak gust of November 17th, 2015, when we had that particular windstorm and over about 240,000 people without power. We're doing much better on the power today, but we still have thousands without power. So I would suggest, again, if you are with power, you're on a well, make sure you run water into your bathtub so that you have that to flush. Also, if you have gallons of water, make sure that you're holding on to those because you're going to need them. We're going to see these power outages sort of roll around as they're doing what they need to do to get people electrified. If you see a down power line, assume it's energized and stay away from it. The winds continue through the lunch hour. 50, we should see about 50 at dinner time. Again, we're going to slowly start to see improvement, but for the next couple of hours, these gusty winds are with us. And again, they're going to hold on till about noon, 1 o'clock.
Okay. This is not a big surprise. A number of local ski areas are closed in the region. Silver Mountain and Schweitzer have sent us releases saying that they are closed. Now, I just got done checking. Mount Spokane is closed today. 49 degrees north is closed today. Lookout Pass has not said they're closed, but I would be real surprised if they were open.
You wouldn't want to be caught on a chairlift with a 70-mile-per-hour gust, right?
Definitely not. So if you were thinking about going up, obviously call ahead.
All right, the city of Spokane just sent out a news release at 9:10, so just about 7 minutes ago. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it to you right off my email. City of Spokane first responders as well as street and parks crews are responding to calls for assistance and reports of damage this morning. Public safety officials are asking citizens to stay home if they can and avoid any unnecessary trips. If you must go out, use extreme caution, expect delays in getting to your destination. Parks officials ask citizens to stay out of parks until the winds subside and crews can assess damage and clear any unsafe debris. The high winds can also impact those experiencing homelessness, and shelter space is available. You can call 311, of course, to report trees blocking roadways or for any help. If down power lines pose an emergency where you are, please call 911. Treat down and damaged power lines as active and do not approach them.
And also, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office sent out a release or sent out something on social media saying, do not call 911 unless it is absolutely an emergency. And again, down power lines would be considered an emergency. But if you just have a tree down in your neighborhood, don't call them. They are inundated.
For sure.
Well, the damage is, of course, widespread. We are getting reports of trees downed, blocking roads all around the area.
Yeah, it seems like just about every other minute we hear another report of a road closed or a tree down, and our team is working hard to bring you some of those images of the destruction this morning. This is a downed tree. This is on 29th Avenue. This is right near the Super One there on the South Hill. Here's another tree down at Manitou Boulevard and 27th, so not far from that picture that we just showed you.
And here's a large pine tree down in the 1500 block of South 16th, right there off of Grand. And we are working on a comprehensive list of road closures because we've heard of quite a few. You can find that now. It's live up on KXLY.com.
All right, some more pictures for you now. Here is a tree into a car on the 200 block of East 16th Avenue. And this next one is at 27th and Howard, where a tree fell onto a car, as you can see. But fortunately, nobody was hurt in this instance. However, that is not the case at 27th and Post, where a woman has died this morning.
And 4 News Now's Mayor Kawash is live on that scene, bringing us the latest information there. Mayor.
Yeah, Robin, Derek, just a very sad scene here this morning. Woman has died in a one-car accident. It looks like a tree fell on top of her car in the middle of the intersection. Spokane Fire could only tell me it's an adult woman. They can't give me any details. Spokane Police is now taking over the investigation, their major crimes unit. So Spokane Fire is telling me that they can't even take the woman out of the car until that investigation is over. Neighbors were just coming up to talk to us and told me it happened around 6:30 this morning, where they heard just a loud bang, a loud explosion. They came out to see that accident right there. Neighbors also have been walking around here all morning, just comparing this to that 2015 windstorm. Many of them now have trees, power lines in their backyards. That's the scene here across the South Hill this morning. We're about a block or two away from Comstock Park, where there are dozens of trees down. Just 2 blocks over, there are 2 trees down in the middle of the road. So if you are driving out here on the South Hill, be very careful. Many street lights are out, power outages all across the South Hill. So you have to take things slow if you are outside, but a good day to stay home. Now, we are waiting for more details on this tragic death here. Once we get those, we will update you with anything that comes our way. Robin, Derek.
Hey, Mayor, a couple of questions for you. So it looks like this woman was not pulling out of her driveway. This wasn't like at her house. This was her just driving down the street.
That's right, Robin. Just from looking at it from here, that is pretty much the middle of the 27th and Post intersection, and it's a really large tree that is just in the middle of her car. It appears that the doors and trunks are popped open, and it is just devastating to see many neighbors walking around, and they just can't even believe what they see here today.
And another question for you. So you came down to the station and grabbed gear, and you've been on the street. So what have you run into yourself?
Exactly. And so, I mean, let's say you put 27th and Post into your GPS, you couldn't even get there. You have to drive around many side streets because the block right in front of that also has a down tree right in the middle of it. So that's the scene here across the entire South Hill, and we were looking at the ground. The ground is very wet, making it much easier for these trees to kind of snap and fall out of their roots. So it's just a tough scene here this morning, and many more trees. You're kind of looking at them, you're worried that they're going to fall with how large they are and how much they're moving back and forth. So really a good day to just stay inside.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We heard a similar situation from our Caitlin Knapp trying to come to the station from North Spokane, and so many roads closed she couldn't figure out how the heck to get in here. And then as Destiny Richards in our 6 o'clock hour was heading to the South Hill, where we're going to be talking about our next story, she said it's really scary going up the South Hill. It was so dark, and trying to figure out how to navigate some of these roads. So we talked about the unfortunate situation, someone driving to work or wherever, driving somewhere this morning and losing their life. A very close situation further up on the South Hill where Destiny Richards is at.
You got to believe there's an angel watching out for this family. Destiny reporting live now. Tell us about what happened.
Yeah, definitely a very scary situation. The firefighters that were here actually said it was quite a scene when you look inside of there. But here's what we're seeing right now. The tree is still in the back of this home. It was definitely a close call. The tree speared down into the bedroom between a husband and wife in their bed. The husband called 911 because his wife was pinned down from this tree, but the firefighters got on scene. It was City of Spokane, Spokane Valley, and Spokane County Fire District 8 that came down and got her out, got her rescued, and she went to the hospital. At first, it was just a crush injury evaluation, but we did find out from the husband and two boys that came back to get some belongings that she did have an injury to her shoulder, but he did say that she is expected to live. She's expected to be okay. At last check with the firefighters, they need to wait until the power is cut off until they're safely able to remove the tree, remove all the debris. So we're expecting that to happen a little bit later. Reporting from the South Hill, Destiny Richards, 4 News Now.
Did the husband tell you, were they asleep at the time that the tree came through?
Yes, they were very shaken up. They were sleeping. Them and their kids as well were sleeping when this happened. So they were definitely shaken up. We do know they're going to stay with family for the time being. Obviously going to see the wife in the hospital because she's dealing with that injury. But yeah, they were sleeping this morning and definitely literally woken up by the wind damage to their home.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Wow.
I remember in 2015 talking to Steve Lamp, who lives in North Spokane.
Yes.
He was exercising in his house when the tree came right through the middle of their house, and again, just feet away from where he was.
It's just wild, isn't it? And the wild weather continues, Mark.
Yeah, part of the setup for what we're having with these trees being brought down is sort of that record amounts of rain yesterday. We had 8,600s plus a little before and a little after. So we have the wet weather, right? So that impacts the ground. We haven't had a lot of freezing temperatures over the last several days. So now our ground is loose. It's impacted with rain, and then the root ball doesn't have that connection with that frozen ground. So the warm weather, then the rain that we got yesterday, again, record amounts, 8,600s officially, more at your house, then that is the impact of then these winds firing up in excess of 50, 60 miles an hour. So we look at the storm impact, and again, Derek alluded to it in an email from the city. If you don't have to go anyplace today, today's a great day not to. The winds firing up, the travel, again, with a high impact there. And we've already seen it, just getting around the South Hill and some of the outlying areas and north. We have a lot of trees over the road. So we just urge you to be cautious. Again, you're going to come into a lot of areas with spotty power outages, and you're going to find a lot of street lights, you know, the traffic lights that are without power. Treat those as an always stop. Okay, treat those as an always stop. Just be very careful. 72-hour forecast. Here are these winds that we have right now, still in excess of 40 miles an hour throughout many areas. We're going to see those come in, and they're going to start to really change about 1 o'clock. They're going to change direction, and in doing so, they're also going to change their intensity. We see this move in. It's Friday morning. We have a little bit of a rain shower. Going into Saturday, it looks like we're going to have some sunshine and high pressure again. But this pressure gradient is very high right now as that low kicks out and the highs move in, and that's where we're getting these winds firing up. Now, you may remember we've been talking about November 17th of 2015, and that, of course, that windstorm where they said the epicenter there was all but the South Hill, and we're seeing that again today with those winds coming down, building speed and causing the damage. Right now into the West Plains, 36-mile-an-hour winds. We have 38 into Deer Park. We get in west, 21. Wenatchee at 5, variable. So things are improving from the west to east, and we're going to see that constantly improve. Sandpoint at 19, but Sandpoint and the top of Schweitzer are two completely different worlds, and Schweitzer's been experiencing extreme winds there. Pullman, 31-mile-an-hour winds, and again, they've improved. We look at this wind forecast, and again, we've got the active pattern. We're going to see that change. We're going to see those winds shift direction about 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and that's when we start to see things decrease as they leave the southwest and start coming in from the west or the northwest. So that's going to be what we're hoping for sooner than later. So be aware of that. All right, here's your midweek forecast. This is what the red light is out, 50 for the high today, calmer and cooler with temperatures in the upper 30s. That's going to be for Thursday and Friday. That's going to be a lot of good news for what will now be the cleanup.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time.
For sure. All right, this is a picture from Riverfront Park where one of those iconic purple butterflies, or lilac, I guess I should say, literally took flight this morning, toppling to the ground. Our Brian Neal actually took this video not too long ago. You see it there, lying down. Hopefully that is something that they will be able to fix and get restored outside.
Obviously, there's crews looking on it, trying to figure out what to do.
And that is right outside, of course, the new Sportsplex, and this is on the north bank of the Spokane River there.
All right, and we have lots and lots of people without power at this time. The very latest now from Avista looks like about 67,000 people without power. Over in Kootenai, it looks like we have about almost 5,000 without, and then Inland Power has more than 16,000 outages. Crews, you know, are working so hard, so just be patient with them.
I hate to even say this, but if you remember back in 2015, there were people who were without power for more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is not that sort of situation. I know Avista said a little bit earlier that, you know, they did ask for patience and said maybe it could take 24 hours or more before they get to your area. Keep your fingers crossed that it's not that long.
Yeah. All right. Now we want to go out to our Caitlin Knapp, who is in Spokane Valley tracking more damage.
Yeah, right now I am in Spokane Valley near University in 22nd, where you can see behind me that this tree just completely pierced this house. I talked to the gentleman inside. I'm going to turn the camera around right now just so you can get a little bit of a look of what is happening here. So again, this is near 22nd and University. The homeowner inside, Bill, he was sleeping. This is his bedroom. He woke up to a very, very loud crash, and he opened his eyes and saw this tree right above him. He was stuck for just a few minutes. He was able to safely get out and get to his front door. He does have a lot of fiberglass on him, but you can see this massive tree just completely collapsed in his house. Thankfully, he was not hurt, and when I was talking to him a little bit off camera, he just simply called this an act of God that he was not hurt. Unfortunately, we have heard that one woman has died in the South Hill, but this man, Bill, said he's just very thankful to be alive. His neighbor came over to make sure he was okay. The fire department came here, and right now he's just trying to clean up the place and grab some clothes. You can see that there are some power lines down right now. There is in this area at the moment. I was driving through, a lot of street lights were out. In North Spokane, when I was up there, street lights were out. My house right next door, a tree was on top of another house. So this is obviously a very dangerous situation. Please stay off the roads if you can. A lot of power lines are down as well. So if you see a power line, please just turn around. Don't try to drive over it. So again, This is off of 22nd and University in Spokane Valley, where this tree has pierced this house. A man was not injured when he was sleeping in here when the tree did fall down. We're going to keep going around the valley, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene. We're going to go as many places as we can to bring you the latest on this developing situation for this big windstorm. Reporting live in Spokane Valley, Caitlin Knapp, 4 News Now.
She mentioned North Idaho, and we're hearing reports of quite a bit of damage in Coeur d'Alene and Hayden as well.
Yeah, our Alex Crescenti is actually on his way to North Idaho to check some of that out. In fact, we had a photographer across the state line, I believe, this morning heading to North Idaho to Hayden specifically for reports of trees into homes. And then when we heard about the situation where Destiny is at this morning on the South Hill with somebody trapped inside, we turned them around and headed there. But we will get coverage out of North Idaho for sure here. In just as soon as we can get it. Now, there is some terrible damage on Tacoma Street on the South Hill. We're going to show you from the 400 block of South Tacoma. If we can get to that, you can see a giant tree that was pulled up from the sidewalk before crashing down onto a house across the street. 2 big power lines were also ripped down. Maybe we don't have that video. But
we'll try to get it later because it is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's go to this now.
Yeah, this is the scene on the 1600 block of South Grand. We spoke with a gentleman, Clint Thatcher, this morning, who says his house was hit by a tree.
We have about an 85-foot giant spruce that fell on the back of the house this morning about 6:30.
Did you hear it?
Oh, yeah, it's like a freight train hit the house. I mean, everything inside was knocked off the walls.
Wow. Really lucky, though, that nobody was injured with that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, take a look at this tree. This is down in the middle of Bernard. Of course, that is a main north-south street on the South Hill. You can see the power line down in this picture as well. Traffic having to navigate around the mess. And then, of course, this is Comstock Park on the South Hill. This was taken by our chief photographer, Brian Belanger, a little bit earlier this morning. So many old trees right in that area.
And that's actually where our Mayor Kawash is live this morning. He switched locations. So we want to go back out to him to show us what else he's found.
Robin, Derek, just take a look at this right here. This is what's happening all across the South Hill, all across Spokane. These trees are so old and the ground is so wet that the roots are just completely coming out. There's at least, I would say, 7 or 8 of these trees in this park, maybe even more than that are all down like this. And we're near 31st and Howard right now. That's on the South Hill near Comstock Park. So again, just trees everywhere, as you could see. High winds all over the place, forcing trees to keep falling all over the place. Many of these streets just completely blocked off. We're seeing cars have to drive through, turn around, and just take another look at this. I mean, completely out of its roots, out of the ground. So that's what we're dealing with here, Robin and Derek.
Last windstorm we had, when we went up to the South Hill quite a bit, we had a number of, people just in the neighborhoods bringing their chainsaws out and helping. I think we'll probably be seeing that within the next couple of hours.
And keep in mind, Mayor Kawash is a pretty tall guy. He's about 6'1", and that root ball was standing right about even with the top of his head, Mark.
We have had a lot of dealings with root balls in this area, and Dump the Stump program. Yeah, it brings back some interesting memories. We're going to see some of that again, not as much as before, but still plenty of it out there. And we're going to continue to see that potential really through the middle of the day. Then things will improve. Again, until 4 o'clock, the high wind warning is in effect, but really National Weather Service looking at 11, 12, looking for better conditions. 1 and 2, our computer models are saying, yeah, it's gonna get noticeably better, and then really it's the cleanup that happens after that. The winds are going to be with us all the way through lunch, but we're going to see diminishing winds, 50 there and 50 at dinner time. Again, not calm winds, but winds less than 30 miles an hour, probably anywhere from 10 to 25 mile an hour winds. We've talked about the impact of this storm. We're showing it to you live. Again, we do have high impact when it comes not only to the winds, but to the travel. If you do not have to go anywhere, don't. All right, take it easy, be safe. And again, talking about being prepared for these in the Pacific Northwest with having water and food and making sure, again, if you're on a well, we're going to see those conditions change when it comes to water and power, and you might want to put some into the bathtub or into some containers so you have it. All right, winds now to 36 to 21 into Moses Lake. We continue to see, again, the heavier winds now pushing into Montana, so we have winds now to 48 miles an hour, where before we had winds to 55 about an hour ago. So that's good news. We continue to see the forecast. While it updates hourly, it's still showing about 1, 2 o'clock that things do improve, but still gusty winds into the dinner hour. So we want you to be prepared. Let's take a live look at the DOTs this morning. We were dealing with lots of winds in around the Perry S curves along I-90. We now have winds to 32 miles an hour. So as people are out driving around high-profile vehicles, that's going to be an issue in the higher elevations, certainly as they head into Lookout Pass into Idaho, where those winds continue to shift and continue to increase in intensity. But right now, the cameras are not bouncing as much as they were earlier today, and that's just another sign that things are definitely improving. So again, as we look at our forecast for the week today, the red light is on. The winds are out. We still have winds in excess of 30 to 45 mile an hour winds, and we're going to have the cleanup and fair weather for that. Temperatures 38 degrees for the high on Thursday, Friday. Normal high this time of year is about 34. Also, a reminder that yesterday, record amounts of rain added with the warming conditions, and we don't have that frost layer that we normally have this time of year because of this warmth, has added to the fact that these trees are susceptible to these winds.
So, Mark, let me ask you then. We talked about, we knew the winds were coming. We knew that we were saturated yesterday. Did we have any inkling that we'd see this kind of damage?
We had talked about yesterday those winds in excess of 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And we had talked about a high wind watch that switched to a high wind warning yesterday afternoon. They're going, okay, we're starting to see these, you know, the barometric pressure and having it so narrow banded as we had this low move out. But again, it's one of those things until it happens. You can prepare for it. Avista Inland Power sent press releases out yesterday saying, we get it. We're going to have winds, we're going to have extra crews, and we're going to be ready. In 2015, 180,000 people were without power in Avista's region. It's much less today, which is good news. We've made improvements on that. Also the fact, honestly, we have fewer trees than we did because of that windstorm in 2015.
Unfortunately true. But yeah, you've been talking about it for a couple of days that you know, this could be pretty bad.
Yeah, but we don't expect, you know, the South Hill and those areas where you have all those trees, Manitou Park,
hate to see it.
things like that, we're going to have to see. Cowley Park has been relatively safe through these because the hospital is in front of it, and it's sheltered. Yes.
Boy, speaking of shelters, there's a picture that's just tweeted out by the Spokane Valley Fire Department. I hope we can get it for you here in a little bit, but it is literally of a structure, a shelter that is blown upside down and laying precariously on some power lines, and it's just really something.
Wow. All right, we started to show you some video there just a moment ago. Some terrible damage on Tacoma Street on the South Hill. I guess we can't get back to it now.
My fault.
But yeah, there are some big power lines that were ripped down in that area.
Okay, but we can get to this. Let's take a look at this from viewer Paul Davis. That is Garland and A Street in Northwest Spokane. As you can see, Garland totally blocked by that big tree.
Yeah, and we had heard of another area, Francis and A Street, which is even further north than that, of course, causing some problems in that area as well. So, boy, just a whole lot of areas around our area just being devastated today by some of this wind.
Yeah. Okay, next up, we are going to take a quick break, and we will let you know we're going to cover lots of more stuff. We're trying to get a hold of Fire Chief Brian Schaefer. His crews have been out for hours, and they are working diligently. And they were on that extrication this morning, helping to save that woman. So we'll take a break and be back with that.
All right, welcome back to our special 4 News Now coverage of this morning's windstorm. I'm Derek Dice.
And I'm Robin Nance. So glad you're with us. We have Fire Chief Brian Schaefer and on the phone with us this morning. Your crews have been busy for hours. Any idea how many calls you've been sent out on?
Well, at this point, you can imagine the amount of volume that our partners at 911, SHREC, and Fire Dispatch, and our police radio have been dealing with. It's at least double from our normal volume. I'm guessing probably a little over 100 calls within a period of about 2 hours. And all of them were people in need and reporting dangerous situations. So, of course, we had to do a lot of triaging and rely on our people to make really good decisions, and that turns out to be the case this morning.
And Brian, what advice do you have for people just, as they try to navigate the streets, if they've got to get to work or what have you this morning?
Well, I think first off is just to be patient and give people a little bit of grace. Scheduling some time, some extra time getting to work. It's really difficult to locate several of these down power lines. They're dark. They may be across the road. Unfortunately, we actually had one fall on a fire truck this morning and disable the fire truck with the people in it until we could get some help. So we're definitely not exempt from the consequences of down power lines. And like we've seen in years past, and definitely with our northwest part of Spokane and the South Hill have been the major concentration of damage. So those areas you're going to want to stay away from. Let the city crews get out, do their work, and give them a break, because we definitely need the safe working environment and people not trying to get in a hurry and going around fire trucks or around barricades. We've seen it happen this morning, and we're just hopeful that people will give us a little bit of extra time and patience.
Hey, Brian, I want to go back to you talking about that power line down on the fire truck. Now, your crews know what to do in a situation like that, but what did it do? Did it spark? Did it arc? That's terrifying.
Yeah, it was an energized power line that fell on top of Station 11's engine. So up on the South Hill, around 40th and Perry or so, it fell and it was energized, made contact with the metal frame of the engine. So they, just like what we tell people, and I think what all of us learned in driver's ed, you definitely don't want to touch any metal inside that vehicle, and only touch something that may be like your seat, something that would be an insulator. And then, Avista, as busy as they were, they made us a priority and came and rescued the rescuers. So we're very fortunate to have them as partners and be part of our response system. And there's been a number of other very critical incidents involving people trapped in homes, and one unfortunate fatality at 27th and Post, where I was first thing this morning. Very unfortunate incident there, and we're still awaiting next of kin to get contacted before we release any more information on that incident.
We're continuing to talk with Spokane Fire Chief Brian Schaefer here, and you mentioned someone trapped in the home. This was on 63rd and Helena on the South Hill, but this is an example of your people going in and making a technical rescue, so maybe a chance for you to brag on them for a second by the work they did to help this woman.
Yeah, the bragging would actually be on just the partnerships that we have across the spectrum. The call on 65th was actually in Fire District 8, which is a separate entity, and we exchange units, calls, and leadership on a day-to-day basis, probably around 10 or so times a day on non-emergent or less emergent calls. But when the big ones do occur, like this one, the boundary is absent, and we're able to go over and help them, and they've been over helping us. You really can't tell who works for who, and that's what we've been striving for at least the last 15 years I've been here, is that boundaryless response to get the right tools and the right people to emergencies. And they work together, and that's really what Spokane is about, the partnerships and the focus on the overall mission and not staying in our silos. And that's just another good example of everybody working together. And it happened all morning across South Hill and with District 9 to our north on the northwest section of Spokane as well.
Yeah, okay. Fire Chief Brian Schaefer, thank you so much for taking time. We know you are incredibly busy. Please keep you and your crews safe. We'll all keep you in our thoughts.
Well, we appreciate the partnership with you as well, and getting the message out for the safety messages, and just being a transparent and reliable group of journalists. Thank you very much.
Oh, Brian, thanks so much.
All right. Well, this windstorm, of course, reminiscent. We've been talking about it all morning, of that one that hit our region more than 5 years ago. That was November of 2015.
Yeah, we want to go to another one of our reporters out live in the situation, and our Eleni Dow is up on the South Hill at 39th and Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I am out here on 39th and Mount Vernon. Unfortunately, we can't get any service from where we were at. Let me show you some pictures of where we were actually at on 42nd and Helena. Here we are. You can see the picture of the home. You can see the trees uprooted, and this house, the homeowner, I spoke with her, and they just had their home remodeled a few years back after that windstorm in 2015. You can see here her car is also crushed. They are okay. Everyone is all right in the house, and they are waiting for insurance to go through. Everyone is notified. There are some other places on the South Hill, including 27th and Hatch, that I saw earlier this morning. Again, we can't be there because we cannot get any service down there. But there are power lines down in quite a few areas in the South Hill. So if you are driving around, just be careful out there. I'll send it back to you guys.
Can you even imagine that your home gets damaged in 2015 and this morning you're thinking just no, not again? And I'm sure they're not the only ones.
Hey, this is what I was talking to you about just a little bit ago. The Spokane Valley Fire Department shared this photo on the Facebook page. Crews urge you to avoid East Sprague. This is way out in like the Green Acres area on East Sprague, 16,700 block near the Budget Truck Rental Store. And they are working on this difficult, precarious power line issue. That shelter blew onto a power line, metal onto a power line. Not a good combo.
No, and you can imagine, boy, can you imagine just seeing that sight of it soaring through the air like that? Would have really been something. All right, our Mayor Kawash has moved locations again.
Let's check in with him now. He is live this morning up on the South Hill.
Yeah, we're trying to stay standing, Derek and Robin. We're here in Comstock Park, and it's just a mess. I mean, there are at least 10 trees down all over the place. Go ahead and show you those roots right there. That is what all of these trees look like, and some of them are taller than me, and I'm 6 feet tall. So that shows you what we're dealing with, and then you see some of the trees and how they're snapping right there. You see the middle of it just completely gone, and then you'll see Brian Belanger showing us the top of the tree right there. Just a complete mess here in Comstock Park. We'll go ahead and keep walking around for you. At least, I would say probably more than a dozen trees are down. You can see there the swing set completely covered in trees. Luckily, right now, there are not many power lines down in this area specifically. We're near 31st and Howard, again, near Comstock Park. We're seeing some neighbors just come out and spectate and try to understand what they're seeing in front of their front yards. Many trees just right on their porch. So just a complete mess near Comstock Park. Once again, a great day to just stay inside. And these winds, at least right now, are not slowing down out here. Derek, Robin?
No, they are not. They will be. They will be.
Yeah, there's so many old trees there on Comstock Park, so not a complete surprise to see some of them toppled in that fashion. Let's send it back to Mark, and we're talking about storm impact here.
I just want to put this in front of you that we have a high impact for the winds, high impact for travel. The city has said, hey, if you don't have to go somewhere, please don't. Fire Chief Schaefer said, yeah, if you don't have to be someplace, don't go. If you are, give people grace and allow for some time because, again, we have a lot of trees down. We have, again, some of the peak wind gusts, and we should point out that we've talked about and alluded to and discussed the windstorm of November 17th, 2015. We had a peak wind gust that day of 71 miles an hour. Well, that was matched this morning as we had a 71-mile-an-hour wind gust at Spokane International at 6:15. Post Falls, 70-mile-an-hour winds, 61 into Coeur d'Alene, Pullman, 58. And again, you see those regularly in the 50-mile-an-hour zones throughout not only central Washington, but pushing into North Idaho. And that's going to be really the trend of seeing these things improve as we go through later on the day as this system continues to make its way through Idaho and pushing into Montana. High wind warning in effect till 4 p.m. today, but we're hoping that the worst of this is done by around noon. Downed trees and outages are out there. We're going to continue to give you coverage of that. The winds decrease this afternoon. Our computer model's really saying 1 to 2. You're going to see a huge difference in the winds. And again, the one up note to this is that we don't have rain, we don't have snow. We'll have sunshine as now they start to clear out the debris. So we look at the setup as this thing continues to move west, and you can see the system as it goes in. This is going to be an area in Montana with severe winds. In fact, the entire state is under a high wind warning into parts of the Dakotas. So while this has impacted us this morning, it will affect the areas to the east of the Rockies for the next couple of days. And so our thoughts are with them as this continues to make its way through. We're having sustained winds in excess of 30 miles an hour. Mayor Kawash, you saw him on the South Hill. Very windy conditions, not as windy as it was this morning, but still it is very windy. We have winds to 38 into Deer Park and again into Sandpoint, less than 20-mile-an-hour winds. But again, most of, if not all ski areas, other than Lookout, we don't have official word yet, but all the other ski areas have said we're not opening today. It's too windy and it's too dangerous. We did have this rain, and we picked up a record amount of rain yesterday at 86 hundredths. That, along with the warm temperatures, added to the recipe for destruction in as much as that we did not, if we had frozen ground a foot or 2 foot down, that has a much better anchor for these trees. When the ground is saturated and it's warm, they're going to let loose much easier, and we're seeing that now on the winds. We're expecting to see a continuation of clear and sunny conditions for today. But again, that high wind warning, not only Spokane, but all the way down in the Lewiston area, coming out now, Grangeville, out of that region as they've had winds diminish. It's going to continue to kick out a wind advisory that's in the northeast corner of the state and extends all the way down through parts of Idaho. So everybody is getting a part of this. There is no doubt about it. Within our region, everyone's been impacted by this. So outside activity today. It is going to be very windy. We're going to have temperatures that are going to be mild, and we're going to have sunshine out there. But the issue is down power lines, down trees, getting to and from places safely, and the fact that we have fire apparatus, AMR. We've got, you know, all the different power crews out there. They need room to work. So asking you to stay in place, hang out, and again, this is going to be a couple of days where there's going to be plenty of cleanup happening in and around our region.
Yeah, and Mark, you mentioned some ski resorts, and we know that most are closed for sure around the region. Earlier on, Silver Mountain, Schweitzer all sent out information. The others are closed as well, or at least if they're not. I know that Mount Spokane is closed, and I believe 49 degrees north, and haven't heard from Lookout. But, I mean, you got to believe they can't be open today.
Right. I want to pass on some information, too, that just came out about 15 minutes ago from Idaho State Police. This is for anyone in the Rathdrum area. There are trees and power lines down in the city of Rathdrum on State Highway 41 at Coeur d'Alene Street. Rathdrum Police, redirecting traffic at this time, but they asked that any oversized loads or semi-trucks with double or triple trailers to avoid that area and take an alternate route. So again, trees and power lines down in the city of Rathdrum right now.
Yeah, and again, we have crew heading to North Idaho, shooting all kinds of video there as well. And that'll be coming up throughout the day on social media as well as here on our air. We want to take a look at some other video to show you. This on Tacoma Street on the South Hill, 400 block of South Tacoma. You can see a giant tree pulled up the sidewalk before crashing down onto a house across the street. Two big power lines were also ripped down. You see one hanging, just hanging there.
That is a big tree to be fallen down. All right, another image now. This comes from a viewer, Paul Davis. This is Garland at A Street. This is in northwest Spokane. As you can see, Garland completely blocked by that falling tree there. It looks like a car was just missed, perhaps, as well, by that falling tree.
Yeah, just wild. And the damage is widespread. You know, there are trees down, power lines down all around the area. And it seems that we just keep hearing more and more about them. And we're sending crews all over. We do have lots of power outages, not as many as we were talking about, not as many as 5 years ago during the windstorm in November of 2015, but still tens of thousands of people without power all over the area.
Yeah, here's a few more of pictures of the damage. This is a down tree. This is right at Super 1 there at 29th and basically 29th and Grand there up on the South Hill. Another down tree at Manitou Boulevard and 27th, so not very far at all from that Super 1 in the previous picture we just showed you.
Yeah, and now here's a large pine down in the 1500 block of South 16th. Right off of Grand. And we are working on a comprehensive list of road closures that you'll need to know if you do have to head out. If you don't, please don't go. This list is live now on KXLY.com.
And some more pictures for you now. And we've shown you a few of these, but the damage is so devastating. I think it's worth showing again. This is a tree that's into a car. This is on the 200 block of East 16th Avenue. Another one now. This is 27th and Howard, where a tree fell onto this car. Fortunately, nobody hurt in this one.
Yeah. And a reminder, if you do have a power outage, you are asked to report it online. The website is there for you on your screen. You could also call 1-800-227-9187. We also have the numbers for Inland Power and Light, as well as Kootenai Electric there on your screen. This information, you can also find it on KXLY.com. And you can call 311 to report trees blocking roads in your neighborhood. And again, you know, 911 saying if you just have a tree down, don't call them. They are inundated with calls.
Yeah, but let's check in with Mark one more time.
All right, we've got updated numbers now with winds to 41 miles an hour now into Spokane. So again, it's going to take a couple of hours before we see this thing diminish. So we're going to be in it for a while. And then hopefully by 1 or 2, we're going to see some improvement, especially as we look at our wind forecast and we continue to see, again, 1, 2, 3 o'clock. It's up to Mother Nature, but it does look like it's starting to slow down as we look west into Wenatchee. We'll have more throughout the day and more at KXLY.com.
Oh, we are not done. We are going to keep covering this story for you all day long. You have just been joining us for this special report.
Yeah, we will be bringing you another special report today in 2 hours from now, starting at noon. It'll be on here on 4 News Now and throughout the day on KXLY.com and our new streaming app, KXLY Plus, as well. So please be safe.
Yeah, and we thank you for joining us.